I made a joke the other day that Joe Biden may be the greatest president we've had in our generation, maybe even ever. Of course, I don't mean that literally. What I mean is, out of the ashes of this failing administration, we may get some kind of resurgence that can help save this country from problems that have befallen it over the past 30 years. Notably, an erosion of our borders, an erosion of wages in our labor force, a massive influx of low-skill labor. We've had the outsourcing of jobs in factories and manufacturing. We don't make anything anymore. And maybe what the American people need was a president so bad that he actually was good as a wake-up call to Americans over needing to be involved in these things, needing to go out and vote and paying attention to local politics. Ladies and gentlemen, I think Joe Biden may be so awful that he gives America a slap in the face, figuratively, that wakes them up. Right now, we are dealing with Kamala Harris's 11th aide to leave. We're dealing with 31, perhaps more, but latest count or last count, 31 Democrats quitting or retiring from Congress. Major waves of Democrats outright just saying, I've had enough with this. Moderate Democrats speaking out on the record saying, I don't want to abolish capitalism and I don't want to be party to this, but they also don't like Republicans. It seems like the Democratic coalition has just been taken over by lunatics, either who are tribal and don't care the country is failing. We've got a recession coming, so many say. We've got inflation, we've got gas prices, and they're like, whatever, as long as we win. Then progressives saying, if you want our support, you got to give us crazy policies and agree to ridiculous ideology. And then that's not working either. And then you have the independent voter and the Republican and conservative voters. And they're all sort of agreeing that there are some basic things that we just don't like. Many Democrats are quitting and becoming Republicans or becoming independent. Many independents are registering the vote for the first time. So what may end up happening this November is that we'll see a red wave. Now, I'm not entirely confident the Republican Party can do anything. The Republican Party has some of the worst leadership we've ever seen in politics. This means that you need to get out there and vote in the primaries, vote in local elections, vote for your school board, your state rep, your state senators. Challenge this system. So far, I think in many ways, the grassroots level, things are going well. Although in the past year or so, things at the federal level have been fairly bad. And truth be told, they've been fairly bad for several years, what with the hoax investigation of the Trump administration. At the local level, things have been pretty good. Right now, we're looking at around 26 states that are soon to be constitutional carry, 25 officially, although some haven't kicked in just yet. Florida may go constitutional carry very soon. And then more than half the country will defend your right to keep and bear arms. Good things are happening. But right now, it's so bad for Joe Biden that even the Associated Press fact check over at Star Tribune is saying this dude's not paying attention to reality. He's denying the reality of inflation. What's happening is not the result. The recoveries we've seen in some areas are the result of just the pandemic being over. And the media is so desperate to try and pander to and support Democrats that they're lamenting democracy is nearing its end because Republicans might win. Who do you think you're talking to, media? Do you think the regular people that have decided to vote Republican don't realize they've decided to vote Republican? And do you think they have no good reason for doing it? Do you think that riling up people who already agree with you is going to change the fact that you've scared away a large portion of moderate voters? Well, apparently all of this is lost on the left, and the polls are looking really, really good for Republicans. So I'll tell you. You've got people quitting the Biden administration. Jen Psaki is going to go to MSNBC. You've got 11 people jumping ship off Kamala's team. Even Jill Biden, apparently, I believe it. Yeah, Jill Biden criticized Kamala Harris, saying, criticized Biden, Joe, for picking Kamala. The Democrats don't seem to like each other. But I think aside from the fact that they're failing, they realize not a good place to be right now as a Democrat. The party looks ridiculous, looks crazy. They look like they're obsessed with weird cultural issues. But when it comes to the right, they may be angry about cultural issues, but it's in opposition to the cultural issues being pushed by Democrats that freak people out. So here we are. Kamala's deputy chief of staff becomes the 11th aide to leave in a mass exodus. From The Guardian, a wave of House Democrat retirement stokes fear for the party's future. And of course, as you know, The polls find the GOP is favored to win the House with a 6-point lead over the Democrats. Well, let's get started and read about why people are quitting Kamala's, I don't know, what do you call it, the Kamala administration? I guess we just call it the Biden administration working for Kamala Harris. But let's read about why so many people are quitting. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com and become a member to help support our work directly as a member. You will keep all of our journalists employed and writing these amazing news articles, and you'll also get access to exclusive episodes of Timcast IRL Monday through Thursday at 8 p.m., uncensored, not very family-friendly, a lot of cussing, but as a member, you're keeping all of this afloat, and we really do appreciate it. Memberships are the most reliable way to allow us to plan for the future and budget. But don't forget, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and take the URL. Click that share button, post it wherever you can. Grassroots marketing is the most powerful way to help support the work that we are doing here at Timcast. Here's the first story in the mass exodus as Democrats quit. The Daily Mail reports Vice President Kamala Harris's Deputy Chief of Staff, Michael Fox, I'm going to get in trouble on YouTube for that one, but whatever, is set to, we'll call him Fuchs, to leave the administration in May. The 11th staffer to leave in as many months. Fuchs has advised Harris on domestic and international issues, helped manage staff, and accompanied her on foreign trips. He worked as a foreign policy advisor for President Bill Clinton and in the State Department under President Barack Obama. Fuchs will stay in his current role until early May to ensure a smooth transition, according to a memo sent around to staff. He has not yet announced where he is heading. Now, that's really interesting, that he's quitting without saying where he's going. Usually if someone's getting a better job, they'd say, look, we're not bowing out because of pressures or failures. I'm going to go work at this company. It's a great opportunity. In this instance, he's like, I'm out. At the same time, Harris is hiring a new head speechwriter after her last one departed in February. Megan Grube will shape the VP's public remarks. She most recently worked as an editorial director for Gates Ventures, where she wrote speeches for Bill Gates. She was also a senior speechwriter in the Obama administration. Grube will fill the vacancy left by Kate Childs Graham. Meanwhile, Kirsten Allen will be Vice President Kamala Harris's new press secretary, moving over from the Department of Health and Human Services after 3 high-profile departures in the VP's press shop. Exciting day, honored and elated to work for the VP. Okay, so let's be real. People are quitting, but she is hiring new people. Really high turnover rate. That's what I find really weird. Why would someone agree to work for an administration where everyone's jumping ship? I don't know. Maybe they got to increase the pay rate. From March 6th, The Guardian, 31 Democrats, a modern record, are stepping down as the party risks bleak midterms. But leaders say hope remains. I call shenanigans on that. Hope remains. No, there's no hope. Democrats are freaking out. They're panicking and they're jumping ship because they know the last place you want to be is defending what's going on in Florida, for instance. You got creepos being arrested at Disney World, creepos who work for Disney being arrested. And I gotta be honest, it's kind of nice. It's being nice when I say creepos. I'm talking about child exploitation. These people are being arrested. And then you have Disney coming out and publicly supporting these protests that want parents to have secret conversations. They want teachers to have secret conversations with children ages 5 through 9 about, let's just say, adult matters involving reproduction. I don't think any regular person is going to be like, yeah, okay, that's a good thing. In fact, the polls show most people are like, what is wrong with these Democrats? Well, I'll tell you, they chased after this progressive insanity, which brings us now to this story from Politico. The free fall of the Democratic Party. A retiring moderate Democrat unloads on the party. And you know what? I have zero sympathy. None. And here's why. Take a look at this quote. I don't want to hand this country and the agenda over to a party that's trying to dismantle democracy. Oh, shut your pathetic, spineless mouth. This is pathetic. The Republicans trying to dismantle democracy? Please, they get nothing done. But I also don't want to hand my party over to the faction that wants to dismantle capitalism. I think both of those forces are dangerous and detrimental to this country. No, I think you're dangerous and detrimental to this country. Why? Because you are the spineless, pathetic politician who won't stand and say, look, the Republicans aren't trying to burn anything down or dismantle anything. They're operating as status quo, and it's terrible. I think it's awful. But dismantle democracy, pathetic. You stood by for how long as these insane woke progressives tried to dismantle more than just capitalism? So spare me your pathetic, spineless platitudes. What we need are, we need America First candidates. And not even, and I'm not talking about extreme. I'm not talking about someone who's like, I only care about America. I'm talking about someone who's like, hey, we got a problem at our southern border. And if we're going to maintain this international aid, we at least got to secure our country, our labor markets, our manufacturing, and our borders before we can give all this money away. You see, these moderate Democrats, the neo-libs, they're banking on if we give enough money away, people will keep using our money. Okay, but if the money has no value, you morons, people eventually will be like, I don't really care if you give us the money because we can't do anything with it. We're hoping that it remains the reserve currency, and by giving it out, people will spend it amongst each other. It's not the worst plan in the world, because I understand their point, but it's pretty much a bad plan, because you need value backing the currency, not just it's everywhere, so use it. But this is where we are. Inflation is running amok. Even the Star Tribune, AP fact check, Biden skirts blame on inflation, GOP gas hype. I love it. Inflation. They say, Biden addressing political rhetoric on rising prices. So I'm sick of this stuff. We have to talk about it because the American people think the reason for inflation is the government is spending more money. Simply not true. Republican National Committee. Prices are surging and Americans are footing the bill. No spring road trips because of Biden inflation. The facts. Biden sidesteps reality. Government spending has been a clear factor behind rising consumer prices, though it's not the only one. Biden last year signed a $1.9 trillion relief package under the American Rescue Plan. Okay. You know what? I was in favor early on of Trump's initial rescue plan, saying the ship is sinking. You can't just shut down the economy. We didn't know what was going on. I think it is fair to say, one, I was wrong. No problem saying that. In a panicked situation where we don't know how to react, I think people will be wrong. And I'm willing to concede Democrats got things wrong. Republicans got things wrong. I got things wrong. And I'm not surprised we got things wrong when we were worried about what was happening with this pandemic. First thing that shouldn't have happened, the extended lockdown. That was a terrible idea. The next thing that shouldn't have happened is, well, considering the mass lockdown, we triggered a mass spending spree. Shouldn't have happened either. For me, I'm willing to accept my role in this as somebody who is, producing this show. And I thought we shut things down. I understand we're concerned about, COVID, and it was really bad, the Alpha strain. And then I thought maybe we need to just, Donald Trump and everybody basically was like, let's get a relief package out there to people. And I said, I think that's a good idea. I look back on it now and I say, hindsight is 2020. It's easy to recognize what we should have done when you know how things played out. Not being able to see ahead of us. I'm not going to blame Biden for a relief package necessarily. However, at this point last year, it was apparent the lockdowns were a mistake. It was apparent that mass spending was a mistake, and that what should have happened is it should have been, hey, reopen everything. But they didn't do it. Even with the vaccine, this supposed key to unlocking this country, there were still more deaths, more COVID cases, and the economy got worse. That you could only blame Joe Biden for. The media is desperate to defend the Democrats. I love it. Fox News reports CNN, MSNBC, NBC are more worry about bloodbath for the Democrats in midterms, the end of our country. A recent New York Times op-ed said Democrats were making it too easy for Republicans to win in November. Yes, Democrats are. Which is why I say maybe Joe Biden is the greatest president we've ever had. I'm going to let that soak in for a minute so that everyone can laugh, because it's obviously not true in the literal sense. But as I stated early on, I want you to think about this. What would have happened if we got another jammed up Trump administration? Let's be real. Trump did a lot of really, really great things. One of the best presidents I've ever seen in my lifetime. And it's only been a handful. So I can't really speak historically, but I think Trump was a really good president. Bad in a lot of ways, mind you. He could have been, in my opinion, the greatest president if it was not for his the lack of decorum and demeanor. I also I don't think that weighs that heavily on me that Trump was a mean guy, because we had many great presidents who were kind of nasty dudes. So I don't really care all that much. What I care about was the border getting secured, were jobs coming back, was employment going down, were wages going up? Everything seemed to be moving in a really good direction for the most part, even with Trump being jammed up. If Trump got reelected, they would still jam him up. So what did we need? I think Trump still would have been way better if he got elected over Joe Biden right now. But there is going to be a profound and lasting generational impact of this failure of a presidency. And that's why I say it is not Joe Biden himself that makes his presidency a great presidency. It is his, how do I say this? The point is, he's so bad that regular people are waking up and saying, what is going on? Why is gas $7 in California? Down the street, why is it $4.50 in West Virginia? They had to suspend the gas tax in Maryland. You can't just do these things. I was talking to someone, they were like, oh, gas went down. It's like it's like $3.70. And I'm like, yeah, because they suspended the gas tax, which is like 40 or 50 cents. And they went, whoa, really? Yeah. And that means the other planning that they were going to use that tax money for, out the window. So what happens? The planning's been a failure. Joe Biden is going to just lead to a continual decline in this country that's waking people up until finally they say, yo, what happened here? And you know what's going to happen? They're going to find people like me or Crowder or even Joe Rogan. And they're going to start listening to conversations where it's like, maybe we should have paid attention to this. Maybe we were wrong to go out and vote for a Joe Biden. Maybe this means they won't vote for the neo-lib, neocon uniparty anymore. And maybe it doesn't mean Trump wins in 2024. Maybe it means Ron DeSantis does. I certainly think it's going to be, I really do think it could be a Trump. I say could be because I lean towards probability says if Trump runs, he wins. It looks like they're not planning on having Joe Biden run again, but we'll see. Maybe they will. You know, we like to talk about Joe Biden being in poor health, but the media is just absolutely desperate and panicked because, of course, they work with Democrats. Regular people, middle of the road people are not buying the lies anymore. Fox News says, since the beginning of last year, liberal networks like MSNBC, CNN, NBC, CBS, ABC have expressed concerns the GOP will triumph in the 2022 midterms, with many hosts asking how President Biden can save the party from an impending bloodbath. On March 23rd, the New York Times published an op-ed in which columnist Thomas B. Edsall asserted that Democrats are making it too easy for Republicans to claim victory. And slammed liberals from turning away from the working class while tolerating brazen crime. That's true. Look at New York City. We now got reports that district attorneys are quitting en masse in New York City. It's crazy, man. Meanwhile, on the March 30th airing of MSNBC's Meet the Press, host Chuck Todd sounded the alarm on Democrats' dwindling chances of victory in November with a midterm meter that placed the president's party in the shellacking category, below bad, decent, and exceptional. It's not the first time that Todd has attempted to highlight Democrats' poor odds. This is a huge red flag, Todd told Alcindor, to which she agreed, showing that Meet the Press made note of an NBC poll that saw registered voters show preference for Republican control, 46% over Democrats, 44%. A Republican polling lead on the generic ballot, as Todd noted, had not occurred on NBC polls since 2014. In January, while speaking with Rep. James Clyburn, Todd asked what he needs from Biden to improve the Democrats' chances in 2022. Other hosts also echoed similar questions on how the Democrat Party can improve their position before the midterm election. George Stephanopoulos asked Vice President Kamala Harris about Biden and the Democrats' dire poll numbers. Yeah, we get it. They're flailing. I'd like to throw back. I'd like to go back down memory lane. June 7th, 2021. Brian Stelter is one-on-one with Jen Psaki. CNN's Brian Stelter gets roasted for a sycophantic Jen Psaki interview, asking, what do we get wrong? What does the press get wrong when covering Biden's agenda? When you watch the news, when you read the news, what do you think we get wrong? We're so wrong, Jen Psaki, and you're so right. Tell us what we can do to better serve you, the government. Peter Doocy seems to be the only one who actually holds the Biden administration's feet to the flames. And the rest of the media seems to give him a pass or not bother at all. But now, the funny part, we have, where do we have that? Do I have that story pulled up? Well, anyway, I think most of you are aware that Jen Psaki is actually, oh yeah, I think we have it right here. Is this it? Biden Press Secretary Jen Psaki to become TV host at MSNBC, reports say. Psaki will reportedly stay on until the end of April before joining the liberal cable news network. Even Jen Psaki is jumping ship. Now, for what it's worth, I think Jen Psaki did a pretty good job. I genuinely think that's fair to say. Because her job is just to spin people around and spin. And she's good at spinning people around and spinning. The reality is the media is who did the bad job. Jen Psaki is supposed to lie for the president and spin things for the administration. Sean Spicer does it. Every administration has that person. None of them are completely honest people. I don't care if you like or don't like the administration. The job of the press secretary is to spin their position. Jen Psaki does a great job doing that. But even she is leaving, and that's surprising considering, I think, in terms of, well, truth be told, it's not hard when you're getting propped up by a sycophantic media. Here we go. The Hill. Poll finds GOP favored to win the House with a 6-point lead over Democrats. From The Hill, Democratic anxiety grows over Biden's dismal polls. Yes, we know. From Axios, polls shows declining Democrats, rising GOP midterm motivation. From 538, how popular is Joe Biden? 41.2% approval, 53% disapproval. On the generic ballot, Republicans are up 2.1 points, which is unheard of. From Axios, Democrats air anxieties after Biden's brutal NBC poll. Oh, just watching all of this is just so exciting. I love this story from March 22nd. The Guardian. Jill Biden criticized husband's choice of Kamala Harris as running mate, book says. Why do we have to choose someone who attacked Joe? Yeah. Kamala Harris called Joe Biden racist, and she called Joe Biden sexist, and she accused him of very serious impropriety, to put it mildly. And then he was like, I'll go with her. These people have no morals or standards. Now, I also think it's fair to point out that the Republican nomination in 2015-16 was also very brutal. Ted Cruz was called all sorts of things. His wife was called all sorts of things. These people just get in line behind their tribe. That's what they do. You know, I get it. In the primary, you want to win, so you get cutthroat. But there just seems to be no honesty to any degree. Look, man, you can come out and you can say, I think, here's what I'd say if I was running. I'd say Donald Trump, pretty great president. I mean, I don't think he's the greatest, but I do think there's a lot of areas where I think he made tremendous improvements and helped this country. Wages were going up. True facts. Unemployment was at record lows, especially in minority communities. Securing the border. However, he has impulse control issues. And I don't mean that to disparage him outright, but to state a fact. What we need in this country is all of those elements of America first, fighting for the working class, fighting for a secure border, for better trade agreements, negotiating better deals, calling out those who would rip us off, but bringing a bit of the decorum back. Now, Trump was also imperfect in several areas, notably foreign policy, but his foreign policy was still some of the best we've ever had. I would like to expand upon those ideas. That's what we need. There is room for improvement as a candidate. And Trump can call you whatever he wants to call you. We'll see what he calls Ron DeSantis. It's going to be tough. Ron DeSantis is doing an amazing job. He really is. Man, I would love to see constitutional carry in Florida. Now, in Florida, you can do a lot. You have a lot of freedoms, and they're expanding them. I should say removing these infringements, which is good. But there's still no constitutional carry. You got to get that done. You absolutely got it. You got to get that done. Ron DeSantis, here we go, from Florida politics. He holds a double-digit lead over any Democrat competitor in latest Florida chamber poll. Nikki Fried comes closest among Democrats running, but trails the incumbent by 10 points. Because things are just going really, really well in Florida. People are moving there like crazy. How will Trump handle that? Ron DeSantis is younger. He's a younger guy. He's not, I don't know if I can call him young, but I guess in terms of politics, he's young. What is he, late 40s? He's got military experience. That's amazing. He's taking these actions that show he has a real understanding of deep cultural issues and political positions, though not perfect. He's had some free speech questions. I think he supported anti-BDS legislation, which made people worried that he would ultimately take a political stance over a free speech stance. But I got to say, all of these politicians, They do things that are bad. They can be criticized for things, but if they're doing overwhelmingly a good job, you say it, right? If Ron DeSantis runs, we are going to have all of those elements of a Trump presidency with stronger and younger leadership. I think Ron DeSantis would probably be, I think he would be better than Trump. But that being said, there's something else you get from a second-term Trump presidency, and Trump is just way more aggressive in many ways than DeSantis could be. DeSantis will try and play it safe. He'll do what he can, and he'll try to be accommodating in many ways. I think Trump is off the leash. I think if Trump gets reelected, he's going to be like, it is time to just go nuclear. Donald Trump is going to start rubber stamping things. He's going to be like, get it done, fire these people. He is going to purge the bureaucratic element within the federal government, and he's got a bone to pick. So I think there is some value, absolutely, in that second Trump term, though I really am a fan of what Ron DeSantis is doing in many ways. Albeit, I probably disagree with him on a lot of issues, but on the issues that matter most right now, like with schools and stuff, Ron DeSantis is doing a great job. Democrats have their answer. Can executive actions save the midterms? Vox writes. In recent weeks, progressives have issued a dire warning for Democrats. If President Joe Biden doesn't try to get more done via executive action, they argue voters won't turn out because they'll feel the party hasn't delivered for them. Yes. What the progressives are advocating for now is Joe Biden to use executive authority to steamroll through their agenda items that can't pass Congress. Won't work. It's an insane idea. First of all, it's wrong. It's disgusting, despicable. The people don't want it. They don't want it. You don't just get a president to jam it down people's throats. However, I have to wonder, how is Joe Biden as president doing the job Congress can't do going to make anybody want to vote for a congressperson? I mean, think about it. Right now, Congress ain't getting it done. If people are upset about that, and members of Congress and the Democratic Party are retiring in huge numbers, modern records, why would someone vote for a Democrat if they're not doing anything? I suppose the idea could be primarying the Democrats to get Democrats who do things. But I don't see why Joe Biden taking action would have an impact. I just think it's them saying, you better get it done now, because when the Republicans win, and it's when they win, they are going to impeach Joe Biden, and they should. Joe Biden should be impeached. First course of action. What are we going to do? When's the first session start? So January 3rd, I think, is the what do they call it? When they bring in all of the new members of Congress, they swear the swearing in ceremony and all that stuff. And then they go through, they'll come in, they're given the books. I forgot what the word is. But it's going to be when all the Republicans, the new Republicans come in, a lot of new freshmen. They're going to have their orientation. That's close to what I was thinking of, but there's it's not the inauguration, but you get the point. So they're going to go through all that stuff. I believe the first thing that should happen, every single one of these Republicans that get in, and hopefully they're populists, file impeachment, co-sponsor it, impeach Joe Biden. Why? Ukraine. Conflict of interest, illicit dealings, China, illicit dealings. Impeach. Burisma, Hunter Biden, sharing bank accounts, impeach. Now, Republicans likely won't have the Senate numbers to actually convict, because you'll need 2/3. But an impeachment would send a message. And I believe they have no choice but to impeach Joe Biden as soon as they get in. Let the world see him. Let the world see him and his administration answer these questions. Hunter Biden should be forced to testify. Everything they did to Trump that was bogus. Let's see the Biden administration and family go through the same thing, because this time it won't be. We know Hunter Biden was sharing a bank account with his dad. We know he was on the board of an energy company in Ukraine he had no business being on. And then we got to ask ourselves the question about what's going on with Ukraine right now. How is it that so many prominent Democrats have family or ties with Ukraine, and we're seeing a war here? Something doesn't add up, and we should have an investigation into it. The American people have a right to know what their corrupt politicians have been doing in their name. And that means Joe Biden must be impeached. Perhaps it'll just be a symbolic victory in the end, because impeachment ultimately doesn't lead to much of anything other than to say we've impeached this person. But this likely means that some have said there will never be another president that will not be impeached until, I guess, a civil war erupts. Trump was impeached twice, and it was for completely bunk reasons, mostly fabricated lies. They don't care. They voted to impeach him. Of course, they couldn't get the votes to actually convict Trump, so they just did it again. Nonsense. And now Republicans, anyone's worth their salt, are going to want revenge. Here's what needs to happen. You want to see any action take place? Democrats might lose. Yeah, maybe. But if the current Republican administration wins, the current leadership, you will get nothing. And then what? Demoralization. No, the primaries are happening now. You all need to be looking up right now where you live, who's running for office at the federal level. You need to look up who's in the primary, and you need to get rid of these neocon uniparty Republicans. Vote them out. All of them. I can't believe these people still keep winning these primaries, but the primary is your opportunity to get them out. And if you're in a safe red district, this is your chance. More Freedom Caucus, less neocons. But if you don't, then we're going to get more of the same. Republicans will sit back. Mitch McConnell will go, slow down there, Democrats. And the Democrats will then just get in 2 to 4 years later and just steamroll everything while Republicans just sit back going, oh no, vote for us. What a waste of time and energy. And this is why so many people just don't want to be involved. But if you send that message in the primary elections at your state level too, state senator, state representative, then there could even be a constitutional convention. There's going to be more states passing constitutional carry. And then you can really see some changes happen. A constitutional convention can do so much. It can change everything for the worse, for the better. It's entirely up to who you vote for. I'm not saying it'll be an immediately good thing. Some people want it, some people don't. But vote in these primaries. Vote in the primary for the senator. Vote in the primary for your representatives. And then get a Congress that says, we just want to help the American working class. Start from there. And then deal with Joe Biden in 2024. We'll see. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.